Hi, I'm Amber.
And I'm Jessie.
And this is
Glowing in Tech.
Sponsored by Makers. Hello. We are back for round 2.
Last week, we spoke to Adrienne about her experience with the bootcamp at Makers and the full-time scholarship that she received, as well as how she's landed her first role in a cloud-native company. So today, we're going to be doing
career challenges and also spilling what the tech tea is.
So we're going to start off with the career challenge segment. And Adrienne, this is your opportunity to talk about a career challenge that you faced and how you overcame that.
So because I'm quite new in my tech career and I've only had one role, and that role so far for me has been great. So I'll have to talk more about the job hunting phase of things of bootcamp and just how essential it is to kind of keep your morale high during that period, keep very on top of it and on top of what you're applying for, the companies that you're applying for, what they're about, because preparing for interviews is very important as well, and actually knowing what the company does and being able to say things like reference their values, referencing the things that they've done, their past clients, probably.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely preparing for interviews. But when it's like 3 interviews in a week, it can be quite draining.
It's exhausting. You're having to put on this whole big like kind of mask and do all of the passion to justify why you deserve a role. Like, it's a really hard thing to do. So what were some of the things that you found challenging about that?
Things I found challenging was just keeping on top of which company did what. Which company did what. And also keeping on top of what I've already said to people, like in the first stage of the interview and the second stage of the interview. It's like, oh, did I mention this already? Did I not? So it's important to kind of keep notes. A good thing about doing interviews over Zoom is that documents, Google Docs, like this job, this is what I said, this is what I'm going to say, they mentioned this, they mentioned that. And then once the interview's done, close that doc, next doc, different job. Just constantly having that up.
That's a good one.
Yeah, referencing. And also being very specific about, that company and what they actually do and their clients, like examples from their websites and all the stuff.
And so as part of this job application process, I can imagine like you might not have got the first job that you applied for. What was it like receiving some of those rejections?
I think rejections are definitely in the long run a good thing, because as long as they can give you some feedback on that, and I really push people to be like, okay, can I have some feedback, especially pair programming feedback, and then learning from that for the next time that you do it, like knowing I need to focus on this, I think feedback is overall just very important when you're applying for jobs, knowing what to kind of do the next time. And
it's also a great it gives you a great direction in terms of what focus areas you need to like focus on.
What
areas that you need to focus on. So I remember I was asked about Git commands, and I honestly thought the terminal was a bit of bants. Like, I just didn't think that people could use, I don't know why, I just didn't think.
Were you using everything in like a GUI?
No, I was like, so like with VS Code, I would just like go on file, open, like I just wouldn't do it via the terminal. And obviously at the time, I didn't know too much about GitHub. I was doing the fake kind of GitHub app thing where they do the pushing and pulling for. That. And so I remember like being asked about Git commands, and I was thinking, damn, this whole Git thing is actually legit. I actually do need to.
You need to know.
need to know this. And so I think that with rejections, and especially when you get good feedback, you can just use that to your advantage to be stronger for the next interview. Definitely. Like, did you do things like writing down the questions that you were asked? Like, what kind of top tips would you give to someone when they're going through that kind of difficult phase?
Definitely. I don't think I wrote down the questions when they were asked, but I took some time to think. I didn't just answer straight away, or I took some time to process what they were actually saying.
Which can be a tough thing to do, because you want to just jump in straight away. Like, that's what I do. And then you say something that's the wrong answer and you're like, shit.
And it's like, wait, what was the question again? Like, sometimes I'll be chatting. And I'm like, wait, what was the question that you asked me? Because I'm just going off on a tangent here.
Yeah, and that's what you do when you're nervous. It's not
Yeah.
nervous.
But normally, like, the interviewer wants to see you win. Like, they're not out to get you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
which
that's
is really
true.
nice. And sometimes, like, I remember, oh my gosh. So this was when I was actually waiting to start my first ever role. And I was still doing interviews at other companies just because I just wanted to practice. It was the worst interview of my life. I think I told you about this because I was just screaming afterwards. One top tip I would give you is make sure you know what interview you're gonna have. I assume.
See if you had the docs.
If I had the docs, or at least ask the question, because with the first interview, who pair programs on the first interview?
No, you don't.
Right?
It's usually like an intro chat.
Exactly. Yeah. So imagine I'm doing up, I'm Amber, introducing myself, and he's doing up like he's trying to wrap it up. I'm thinking, why are you trying to wrap this up? So today we're going to be doing a pair programming exercise.
No.
When I say I collapsed. And the thing is, it was a front end interview, and I was a Python babe. I was a Python babe at the time. So yeah, please just make sure you know what interview you're applying that is coming up. Yeah. Because your girl was caught off guard and she was screaming afterwards.
Oh yeah, you were very upset.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's normal to feel upset when things don't go your way. But also it's like to not pretend like it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, no, it hurts. It hurts.
It hurts. But it's not a reflection of you per se, but it just shows that the areas that you just need to work on. And it just gave me a great insight into what front end interviews are like. So I just knew, like, because now I could do that, which makes me even more upset. So it wasn't actually a hard interview.
No,
you
just weren't ready.
It actually wasn't a hard interview. And this guy is being so patient because he's asking me these questions and I do not know the answer. And the thing is, I didn't want to, I just wanted to turn off my Wi-Fi and just disappear. But I was like so scared that if I did that, then he would remember me. So, because it's quite a memorable thing to like, this girl just quit. So I was like, I'll just suck through it. But like, sometimes you just have to sit through it, and the interviewer will be nice and they'll help you out, which is really good. But yeah, if you're unprepared for the interview, because I'm always saying to start before you're ready.
There's a balance. There's a balance. Yeah.
And then, another tip that I would always do is have some water. So yeah, when they ask me a question, I'd be like,
oh,
let me just have a sip of water.
That is so good.
Buy yourself some time.
Yeah, buy yourself some time for sure. And then when it comes to pairing, practice pairing and the rubber ducking, talking through it, being like, I'm going to Google this, because in the job you have Google there.
Yeah.
So
you're not going to have all the answers.
Yeah. Like, no one has all the answers. So yeah, just be confident that you can find the answer. Yeah.
I love that.
Love it.
Okay. It is my favorite time of the episode. It's What's the Tech Tea? Adrienne will be sharing her controversial take of the tech industry. And what will that be today?
That will be, so yes, I don't have much experience in tech yet, but I can definitely speak from previous career experience. And today we're going to touch on the phenomenon of pet to office threat, which I've heard it's quite a thing in tech. I've not experienced it yet, but I've definitely heard through people doing talks and stuff that it is a thing. And it seems to be a thing across loads of different careers.
Definitely. So what is pet to threat?
So office pet to threat is a phenomenon that I think it was like a study that was done on Black women in various careers. I think that in the Medium article, which talked about the study, that
be available in the show notes.
Huh?
Sorry, I'm just going to say it will be all of the notes will be available in the show notes.
That person was in the legal profession. But it is when you first start your career or first start a new job, and people are like excited to have you in the office. They're like, yeah. Especially if you're more junior, they'll take care of you. They'll be like, oh yeah, she's an intern. Love her. Great. Like bring you along. And then obviously you're keen to help. Like, oh yeah, can I help? I don't know, sort out your documents, whatever. So it's all going good. But it's when you want to start to like have a bit more of a voice and just like, I'm not actually just an intern. I want to like progress in this career. I want to climb the career ladder, that it starts to get a bit techie, because then people start to see you as more of competition for their role or for their the attention of like say partners or whatever in the business, or high level seniors in the business. So yeah, you're seen as more of more competition and more threats. They would then not treat you as favorably. And I think I've definitely experienced this in previous careers, especially working in corporate. It's when you're like an intern, everyone's like, yeah, she's great, amazing. The feedback is like off the charts.
Yeah.
But it's when you want to start to progress, you notice that your counterparts, mainly white counterparts, are promoted like way ahead of you, even though like same, everyone's saying you're great or whatever. Promoted like ahead of you, or treated more favorably, or given more the clients that are better, or will help them progress more, would help them practice leadership more, because you need to practice that kind of thing. You need to also be given the opportunity. But I definitely think that's a real thing in the workplace in general.
Absolutely. And go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's one of the things that makes it so insidious is that it can be really subtle things. Like you said, it's like just you wouldn't be able to necessarily say, oh, he's been given a better client than me, because it's such a tiny thing. But it's not just that one thing. It's like the sum of all of those things. And it can be really hard to like justify that it exists. And it can kind of almost be like, you're just seeing things. It's not actually happening.
The gaslighting.
Yeah,
that's
what I mean?
It's so easy to gaslight you and just say, oh, like, they're getting this because of this. But sometimes it's, again, the unconscious bias that
definitely.
So they don't even realize that they're now seeing you as a threat. They're just seeing it, oh, she's a high performer, and for some reason that makes me feel uncomfortable. And for some reason, I just want to give this person opportunities and I don't want to see you thrive. And it's just so, I don't even think they realize that they're doing it.
That change happens for them without them noticing.
Yeah, but that's what makes it harder for us to like invoke that change, because they don't even have the awareness that they're doing it in order to change. And you know, when you see so much resistance, I don't want to say so much, but like when you see some resistance when it comes to unconscious bias training, because people think they don't need to do it.
Nobody wants to admit they have unconscious bias.
Literally. I feel like this keeps coming up in the episode. Like, I'm not sorry, people. Like, it's a running theme. But yeah, it's so important for that to be addressed, because it can leave us, like, I think that, I know Hustle Crew sent a newsletter, and they said something like, I think over 50% of Black employees will leave, like, if they feel excluded in the workplace, and they just don't feel like they're being promoted and getting those kind of opportunities. So yeah, I think it's a hard thing for us to navigate within our careers.
How do you deal with it? How did you deal with that when you had those feelings?
Firstly, you have to remind yourself that you're not going crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. People will be like, is this actually, like, am I actually going mad here? There's one example from like ages ago, in PR, where I was constantly like, oh, I want to be in front of the client. I want to, like, you know, get recognized, because once the client knows you, you're more valuable to them. They trust you. And the senior on the team was like, oh no, I'm going to keep sending so-and-so into the client office. And I was like, okay, I'll just work in our office then and not have any exposure. And then and then he goes to me, oh no, you can go into the office this day. It was the day after the Christmas party. And I was like,
no one's doing anything after the Christmas party.
No way, not meeting a client. Are you crazy?
But then I was like, this can't be a coincidence. Like, I've been asking you for months to put me in front of the client, and you say to me, yeah, I can do it the day after the Christmas party. Like, so you just have to run it. I had to run it by some people and be like, is this, like, am I actually going mad?
Yeah.
And kind of, look inwards and be like, no, you're actually not going mad, because there's certain things that you've seen how other people have been treated, and you have to just know that, no, this is not on.
Yeah, and that's why articles like that is so important, because it puts, like, I remember first reading that. I think it went around on Twitter at one point, maybe like a few months ago, or last year, or a few years. It's been out for a while, no?
Yes, it's been out for a while.
Yeah,
I heard about it in lockdown.
Yeah, I think it was lockdown as well.
Lockdown.
Yeah, and I just remember reading that. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this puts like, it really helped me to recognize that this is something that I've also experienced.
Yeah,
and that, like,
you're not
it
making
was a
it
thing.
Up. Yeah,
but I just didn't. You know, when you don't realize that it's a thing. So I'm thinking, oh, like, it's probably just me that's going through this, rather than it being a thing. And it's not better that it's a thing, but it's good that you know that you're not the only one.
Yeah, it validates the experience. And because I think one of the most dangerous things about it is it can make you doubt yourself and think that you're not doing something right. And it's absolutely nothing to do with you, which again is like, can be empowering because you're like, it's not me, but it's also disempowering because you're like, oh shit, this is society.
Yeah, I know. And that's why it's not good. That's what I was saying. Like, it doesn't necessarily make me feel better that a lot of us experience it, because it sucks that like we all kind of experience it at some point.
Yeah.
And to some degree, that really sucks.
But what are some of the things we can do to mitigate it?
The article was really good. I was rereading it and it was like, well, yeah, at the end it was like, you need to find other outlets. Like, I think the girl who was a lawyer joined another legal group where she could exercise leadership. And you have to find things outside of work. And it's also a reminder that the work is not necessarily who you are. It's your job. It's not who you are. Like, you can find other avenues, which is reassuring, but also disheartening at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're enjoying your role, you sometimes you do just have to look elsewhere and find something else and find somewhere that will value you, or like you said, look for upskilling opportunities elsewhere, which is it's like we should just be able to do that in our day-to-day. So that's the end of part 2 with Adrienne. It's been fantastic to have you. Thank you so much for coming on. No, of course. And we will have all the resources and links that you mentioned in the show notes. And as well, where can we keep up with you if we want to stay in touch?
So probably Twitter is the best. I have a professional Twitter and it's info by Adrienne.
Lovely.
Oh, lovely.
Stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed. Leave us a review. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, follow us on socials at Glowing in Tech on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. If you're listening on any streaming platform, please give us a review. And if you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, and subscribe.
So before we end the episode, I'd love to introduce a new section called the Community Comments. We've been getting some incredible discussions across our social media, and I think it's only fair that we share some of those discussions with our listeners and viewers. So in Michaela's part 2 episode, we discussed the difficulty and accessibility issues with technical interviews. I'd like to start with some of those discussions we've been having on Twitter, and our Twitter is @glowingintech if you want to follow along and get involved. So Shav, shout out to you, has left a comment saying, Michaela ate and left no crumbs in part 2. Took the words right out of my mouth about technical interviews. @glowingintech was singing to the choir with this topic. I live for your opinions, Michaela. Shout out to you, Shav. Love that you're so encouraging. I know that you yourself have made an incredible amount of progress this year, so it'll be great to talk to you one day soon. And we had a response from BLIEPJES on the topic of how inaccessible it can be to ask somebody to come up with a coding solution in 30 minutes. And they said the problem is the input-output ratio at which instant entropy is simply somehow seen from perception of non-applied relativity. In short, most people think that they can prompt smart people because they know the answer, but understand you can't prompt a human like ChatGPT. That's bars. With the same topic on TikTok, we had Emmett Norton 113 tell us that he had to do a coding challenge in a Google Doc for an interview, saying that was brutal. He didn't end up getting the job, but we feel like, honestly, he's dodged a bullet with that one. IFAA on TikTok shared that the anxiety is so real because people are so much more than how fast they can code, and we completely agree with that one. And Kurt shared, you should work for companies that review your open source contributions and check your soft skills and fit. So we love this suggestion, and we will actually be having an episode coming out soon about open source, how to get into it and how it can help your career. Michael shared that jobs have pressures and deadlines, so it seems reasonable to test that. To which we had somebody from the community respond, deadlines exist, but not 30-minute deadlines. It's not a hacking movie, bro. Again, completely agree. On to some of the comments that we've had on Adrienne's part 1 episode. So in this episode, we discussed the notion that bootcamp graduates and computer science graduates can often be compared, and there's an argument about who is better in the what situation. And on Instagram, we have Brenda Michelle saying that 100% cannot compare, I feel like each person brings different skills and their own experience. Regardless of CS degree, bootcamp, or even self-taught, they're all valid paths. And we love that take. We think it's great that even though you can come from a different background, it shouldn't mean that you are discriminated against simply because of the route you took. And we had Sordagram say, it would be great to hear from computer science students. I think a lot of the convo doesn't actually hear from us. My first question is, why is there a comparison and where did it come from? It's a great question, and I would love to hear more from computer science students too. So if you have an opinion on this topic, please do tweet us, let us know on Instagram, hit us up on TikTok. Let's keep the discussion going. So we had Ashley B coaches share their view, and they said that they have the conversation frequently and work with many companies that demand a computer science degree from prospective employees, even though bootcamp graduates have the practical skills needed to do the job. On the flip side, they speak to computer science graduates who feel as though they've wasted 4 years of their life at university and are out of work while their bootcamp counterpart has secured paid work. Ultimately, the choice between the two depends on the individual's goals, learning style, and career aspirations. A computer science degree may be a better choice for those interested in a more comprehensive and academic approach, while bootcamp is more suitable to those who want to learn the practical skills quickly and enter the job market in a shorter amount of time. Both are amazing. We agree, and great to have you on our page too. Get Real Today on TikTok said that bootcamps are good, especially on the practical side, but can't replace the depth of a degree in data science or machine learning, which is an interesting one. And Olivia Voodoo, who is UX, UI and product, said we need to normalise bootcamps, as valuable as uni degrees are, at half the price, which is an interesting one too. Thanks again to everybody who's participated in these discussions, and I'm so excited to hear what you've got to say about this episode. So please do get involved in our socials and listen out for next week to see if you're featured in our community comments.